All right. What's going on, guys? My name is Andrew with Podunk Games, and we're going to be working more on mountains and molehills today. I have a few objectives that we want to take care of. We want to finish the relic bag and the enchant system. I don't think the enchant system is going to be like done, but it needs some work still. I've got this new shader that I've been working on for the attack up effect, where it kind of like shifts the texture with this spiky effect, so it looks like it's sharp. We want to get the card base set up as well. As you might know if you've checked out the other recent streams, we have been trying to redo the card system because just having the texture like this kinda doesn't tell you anything, right? Even with the tooltip, most people who tried out the game kind of just picked whatever attack because it wasn't clear what they were doing. They would have to look over at the side and make sure that they read all this stuff. We want to actually try to make a card out of the cards, right? And this is definitely not what it's going to look like. But at the moment, our resident lead artist is working on a proper background for the cards that is going to get shifted and changed and all this stuff based on the actual information of the card. But for now, this is just what it looks like. But I want to try to get it in a state where it's a little bit easier to work with what she's got going on. So that's where we're at now. The enchant system is probably going to take up most of the stream because it's just the more interesting thing to work on. Let me kind of show you what we've got so far. So I made this icon for the enchants where it kind of just, you know, I make a lot of editor icons when I work in Godot because I think that it makes it a lot nicer to work in. So like if I press F1 and pull this up and I look up relic, you'll see that we have the relic that has a little crown, right? We have stat relics, which have their own little icon, which uses the stat change here. Again, is its own whole thing. We also have our state machine that has custom icons, right? So let's see. We have state machine here, has a little custom icon. We've got battle state machine, it's got its own little icon. And what was the other one? We've got decks, have their own little custom icon, which you probably can't see. Right here, deck like hand container and the hand container and deck itself. So I try to make these little custom icons that make things nice, but our newest one is enchant. And you'll see it has those little stars that I was talking about. And if at any point you guys are interested in like a tutorial on how to set up custom resources and have them look nice in your help menu, then just let me know. I can make videos like that. You know, it really doesn't take a whole lot. But let's look at what an enchantment actually has going on. So in our enchantment.gd here, and we're going to be using this a lot like the relic system, where you have a base class here, right, that individual relics can inherit from if they have complex effects, right? But ones that don't have complex effects can just use these built-ins to do everything they need to do. So, for instance, any enchant that's just a simple stat change can just use this base enchant because it can just put in a stat change and have it applied, right? And even if you're making a relic, or an enchant that does additional effects, if it also results in a stat change, then boom, it can still use this part of the enchantment system. So right here I have the empowering enchant, and what it's got is, let me actually bring that box away from here. So you'll see the enchantment name is empowering. It doesn't currently have an icon. I still need to make one or have it made by one of the artists. I've got this shader that I created, which it looks kind of goofy here, but like I was showing earlier, it's got this like spiky effect where it shifts the textures up to make it kind of look like there's an arrow effect, but still using the existing texture. Which I think came out pretty nice, all things considered. But yeah, that shader is part of the empowering enchant. And it doesn't need a texture because it uses the actual texture of the relic. The enchantment description is that it's +1 to the attack stat. I'm going to try to keep these short and sweet. And in the compendium, it says merely gazing upon relics imbued with empowering is equivalent to a set of bicep curls, which I thought was kind of funny. Other than that, it has these stat changes here. Hey, Rash Ocean, welcome to the chat. How you doing today? I am doing well myself. Thank you for asking. So we have this stat change here, and it's just a base stat attack up by 1. And that's kind of all an enchant needs to be. It just needs to apply a shader to the relic and an effect to the player. And so I've been working on all these different shaders so that we have different ones to work with for the different enchants, because I'm planning on there being quite a few. So, you know, I'm not really 100% sure where like a matrix looking shader like this would end up being, but I think it came out cool while I was practicing learning shaders. The attack one I think is really nice. I like the red and the spikes that kind of programmatically get made by the UV shift. By the way, I'll pull up that shader code if you're interested. It's not super complex. Essentially, I'm just making... I don't know how that just happened. Essentially, I'm just making 2 sine waves here. And then I'm calculating a... I'm calculating where the spike should happen. So along the x-axis of the texture, it's doing a it's doing the modulus of this peak size, right? And then it's taking the maximum between that and it minus the position, and that basically makes a triangle if you do the math out, right? So you have UVs are 0 to 1, so I have to multiply it and then divide it again here. I get the base texture, and then I mix in that shift. And because I'm multiplying by the sine wave, that's why you get this scanning effect. Yeah, if shaders are something that you're interested in, I could go into more detail on how these things work, but I would probably write a script for it because I'm not super good at explaining it off the cuff. Other than that, we have this like ocean floor looking guy. We've got this like they kind of look like grill marks. I think that's what I called it in the actual shader code. Got this reveal where it reveals a pattern on top of things. I've got this glitching effect, which I really like how this one came out. But I actually did draw a texture for this, so it does have a hand-drawn texture, and then it just applies it in this glitchy way with the shader. This one has been my wife's favorite so far. It's kind of meant to look like the foil effect from Balatro, but it's a little more pronounced, like the circles are very visible. This one I think is my favorite. I call it the acid shader because it kind of just looks like, you know, like oil on water. But it moves around and does all sorts of fancy stuff. And if you watched my most recent short, you know what this last one is, but I would be remiss if I didn't play it anyway, so here we go. Oh no, the sound isn't actually coming through. Oh no. That's a shame. Either way. I'm sure if you know what that is, you know what it is. Anywho, so I'm going to get these applied to actual enchants pretty quickly here. but I need to go through and make each one. So I've got a list on my phone that I'm just going to pull up in the background, and we can start working on that. Let's see. Yeah, so I've got like 20 of them here that we can get moving. So most of the ones that I have picked out are base stats, right? And those should be easy to do. They just need to have an actual shader that makes something happen. So the next one on the list after empowering is emboldening, which adds max HP. And I'm not 100% sure how I want that to look. Part of me wants it to be like circles, maybe, where, you know, they kind of look like bubbles coming up. But I'm not sure how I want to go about that. The other thing I could do is I could do a heart pattern that uses this reveal shader. I think that would look okay. Yeah, I might do that. I think that would look cool. So why don't we make a little heart pattern and see what we can do. So we need to make a base heart first. So why don't we do something like... That ain't gonna look right. That'll do. And so, turn this off. Get that color set up nicely. Alright, and what we'll do, duplicate this a few times. I'm gonna hide one of them. Alright. I think that should do. Yeah. Alright. And now I'm just going to move that into the folder for the game. And we'll be in good shape. Theming, shaders, paste. Good. So, what we'll do to make this effect... Why don't we do it on the Oni mask, just because it's the easiest one, I think, to get... to, like, see what a new one's gonna look like. let's see. We're going to want it on here. And duplicate this. Go down to effect. We're going to material. And what we can do is we could just put the heart in there and see what it looks like. But I'm thinking I might want it to scroll. I'm not 100% sure yet. Yeah, I'll want it to scroll, I think. Though I do think that looks cool. Could also make it kinda like that. I still don't really feel like it stands out enough. Uh-oh, I scrolled and now I don't know where I am. Collapse. Parts. Here we go. Yeah, why don't we go ahead and make this scroll. So what we'll do is we will take the, let's see. We're gonna want to I think if we, even if we just multiply, I'm not 100% sure this works, but if we multiply it by the wave, what happens then? No. I have to do it in the way that I'm originally thinking here, I believe. Pretty much every time I open the shader editor, my brain resets a little bit. Yeah, okay. I think I know what I need to do. So let's see, we use this here. Oh yeah, even if I was going to move it along, it would have to be like that. Want to see how it looks right now. Okay, it looks the same. That's good. So now what we want to do is go don't know if we can just do, I'm going to try it anyway. Okay, that's closer to what I'm trying to do. It's getting closer. I don't know why. I have such a hard time remembering how to just make something move along. As silly as that sounds, it's just like doesn't stick in my head quite as well. Let's see. So we want to what we'll do is we're gonna go color albedo.y times equals the wave. And that should do the same thing that was just happening a minute ago, I believe. Or maybe not. Oh, right, because I'm not doing what I think I'm doing. I need to make sure that I'm searching. I'm going to search this up just to make 100% sure. I get really confused with doing this like pixel by pixel thing. So I want the pattern itself to shift. Oh, oh, I'm being stupid. That's all this is. This should be not very difficult. I should just be able to do something like that. I think if I do times the cosine of time, I might be able to just make it move in a circle. I want to see what this looks like a little bit slower. I don't think we're ever going to see it. Oh no, there it is. Let's try this. Just multiplying the UV by the wave. Let's do a very slight wave, I think. Might be better. Can't really see anything happening. Let's see. I think I need it to be a bit more. I'm going to use a snippet from the Godot shader site, I think, to make this happen. Which is the grid one. It just returns the fractional portion of the UV divided into these columns and rows. So I should just be able to take that now. Grid, UV, we'll do 5 and 5. I think it has to be a float, right? If I could type correctly, that would be nice. And then we're just gonna go grid UVs there. Again, if I could type correctly, it'd be a lot easier. Yeah, you see, I think that looks a lot better. Though I am considering... Let's see. I'm gonna do the scale as well. Like I said, all of the snippets for like these basic functions are on the GodotShader.com site, where they have a snippet section which gives you a lot of helpful stuff for making specific transformations and getting the getting everything moving. times equals scale, and then it should just be like that. So then I can just do scale, UV, .75, 75, that, and then we put scaled UVs into here. Something didn't work about that. Not quite sure what, though. Interesting. Maybe I have to go up. It's not really what I wanted to do. I was more hoping to take the individual cells of the individual cells here and make it so each heart can show up, but that's not really how this is going, is it? Let's try this. Oh, you see now this I like. Though I do wonder, if I go like that, will that give me an effect that's kind of more similar to what I want? Sorta. Wonder if I do absolute value, if that'll give me something a little better. Not quite. Try minus. Just gonna mess with the values for a while until I get something that looks really good, I think. I think the problem is that when it cuts off the fractional portion to make this this effect, it's kind of just hard clipping at the edge. I think that's the problem. So I have to kind of think about how this is going to work. Because I wonder if I'm able to just add in the non-fractional portion, or am I thinking about this totally wrong? Hmm. Something is funky about this. So when I add it back in, it does complete the block, but then it prevents the other blocks from displaying as well, it seems like. So something else needs to happen here, but before I go making too many changes, let me see if it's just a result of having this too low. Hmm. What am I doing wrong here? Try a bunch of stupid stuff. Because not having that there makes it duplicate, but why? Hmm. I wonder if I could do something crazy like this. Like I said, I'm not like... Oh, you see, that actually looks like it's doing what it's... more what I want, actually. Maybe I'm onto something here. Maybe I am onto something. Offset's a little too big. Now let's try giving this a blend mode. Kind of want to see what we get. That's not too bad. No, that's not really what I want. Alright, we'll do the add, and I think that's going to be where we call that. And we'll save this in theming under shaders as the symbol shader. And now we can go through and actually make the next enchant, which this is the emboldening, which I believe is spelled with an M, not an N, right? Yeah, emboldening. And that enchant is going to use the symbol shader, but it needs this overlay here, this enchantment icon, and the symbol shader. Honestly, I'm a pretty big fan of how this came out. Oh, this should be here. Alright, and we need some goofy compendium text. Why don't we say... wielder? I could do like... I gotta think of good adjectives and stuff. Let's see. Yeah, that's fine. Add a new stat change, and this is going to be health, and it's going to be a base stat plus of 5. And now this enchant, other than the icon, is practically done. The icons are going to be an interesting one, right? Because we've kind of gone back and forth on our icon system. A lot of them are being redone now by our main artist. They're 128 by 128. So I might make a temporary one for a couple of these, just to kind of get an idea. I do this kind of a lot. I make temporary versions of what I want things to look like long term, so that we'll have an idea for the future I need to unround these corners a hair. Alright, and we'll go back to our... I think that's how we'll do it. We'll just kind of do... kind of something like this. Alright, so that can be like our base background, and I might actually make the back portion brighter than the internal, or than the external rather. That. That way we can do one for strength can just be you tell I'm not the artist in the group. But I think that will do. Main idea is just to get an idea on paper that the actual artists can use. To create the proper design. Cool, cool. We need our UI text icons. Slap them right there. Close on out of this. Then what we can do is we can go to here and go boom. Same with the empowering enchant. All right. Why don't we test this enchant on some of the other... Oops. Some of the other relics here. Alright, and we'll just go through, take this texture, and apply it to... Where did it go? Oh, right here. And, oops. See how it looks. I think it looks decent on most of the relics. It doesn't super stand out. Which is the only tough thing. You know, on something like that looks decent. Oh well, we can always adjust it later. So I wrote this function for setting the enchantment here, which should do what it's supposed to do, right? But it's not hooked up to anything yet. Why don't we... Here, where we're actually setting these relics up. I do have to actually add enchantments to the relics, don't I? That might be that might be step one. That works, and now we'll just do enchant, which will void. If I send you the mouse cropped, would you want to animate that today? I'm still working on the basket. I could, but I feel like it's going to be a lot easier if the basket's there. That way the animations don't go outside of what would be natural, if you know what I'm saying. Like, I know that it's hanging out of it, so it might not matter, but I think for, like, the tail specifically, it could be a problem. Still, if you send it to me, I can at least get it set up in the file system. God, I love text icons like that. Look at this. It's got the little stars that I drew. Like, is that not the most like charming thing you can do in Godot? I love it. Gonna binge more of that during your lunch break. Awesome. Okay. And then all we're going to do is enchantments dot append enchant. Alright. That should work. This enchantment dot on apply thing happens every time an enchantment is added to something, so that should do everything it needs to do. The only thing I need to make sure I go through and handle is if an enchantment is added to an item that's already in your inventory, it needs to update the the draggable relic here. So why don't we go into the relic and add a signal. On enchanted. The other thing I should do is add a relic function called on enchantment, and we can use that to make it so relics are able to tell when any other relic has been enchanted. So if we wanted to, we could have a relic that duplicates enchantments or something like that, but I'll worry about that later. For now, I just want to make sure that we can tell when an enchantment happens. On enchanted dot emit. And you know what? Why don't we even throw the enchantment out with it? So that will send the enchantment through the signal. That way, we can take our draggable relic. Set enchantment is already a signal that's in there. So what we can do is go relic dot on enchanted dot connect to the new relic dot set enchantment. that should do what we need it to do. So now if a relic gets enchanted, boom, we're good to go. And now all we have left to do is to test this. So I think if we're going to test it, the best way is going to just be to add a temporary cheat. Oops. What is happening? There we go. Var relic equals no. Why am I doing that? Alright. And why don't we just take this emboldening enchant, throw it directly in there. We'll just load it directly. Alright, let's try it out. So if we jump into a run, we've got our relic here, and I just did my Control C, which should be the enchant. Nothing's happening. Oh, Control X is what it should be. Yep. So now the enchant is there. You can see the little hearts. They are very small. Like, absurdly small. Alright, let's get that figured out. Arabella, if you want to have a task that would be extremely helpful for today's stream, trying to get that card background finished would be fantastic, 'cause that's on our list of goals here. But I understand that that's like a really important part of the game, so if you need to take more time on it, then do so. Well, I want to get that shader a little more visible, because it is absurdly small. I wonder if I can do... That seems better. Let's see it in game. I also really need to make that first relic actually sit in the inventory like it's supposed to. There we go. Interesting. It's like avoiding the center of the relic. I don't know what's going on with that. Oh, it's also going off the side. What is happening there? Let's go check this out. So if we go into our UI, always present, bottom left, relic bag, inventory, HBox, inventory panel, HBox, inventory margins, inventory grid, inventory item parent relic, visuals, shadow, clipping mask. Oh, yeah, the clipping mask isn't getting updated. Isn't that something? These are the types of things you always want to find out now and not later. Clipping mask. Set reference, and we're going to do clipping mask dot texture equals relic reference dot relic texture. Good stuff to find out now. There you go. Now those hearts look nice. It's funny that I'm testing on this relic because this relic is never actually going to be enchantable because it's not a relic, it's the aspect. But they used to be a single system, and so they are kind of interconnected for now. Cool. Alrighty. So with that in mind, now we have the ability to enchant things, and it does, you know, it looks like it's working, but I haven't actually checked my health. Oh wow, that is not the scene I should have launched. Let's see. I'm sure somebody has looked at the screen and can tell me, but if I... So I've got the health here. When the health updates as the battle starts, do I get that max health? Yeah! Alright, so it is actually, like, fully functional. Pow. Just put my relic right here. Right in the center. I gotta say, I am pretty happy with that. My wife was saying that the enchantment system might be a little too complex to put in before the showcase in October at Boston Fig. But I kept thinking about it, and I'm like, this can't be that hard to do. And it looks like I might have been right, because this doesn't seem that bad at all. Really, the only thing I'm afraid of is I wonder how good or bad the shaders are going to work on mobile. But we're not showcasing it on mobile, so I'm not really that concerned. Like, I might have a mobile build there if it's working good. But I'm not going to push it, you know? Like, if the mobile build isn't, like, ready to go, then I'm not going to worry about it. Anywho. So that's functional now. We have a couple of enchants. They actually work, so that's good. Why don't we... I think I need to make another pass on the tooltip system. But I'm not going to worry about that right this second. I've got an actual list of things to do. So the relic bag we need to get functional, like, now. The problem that we're having is, as it stands, the aspect relics are not behaving as expected. I do wonder how we should do this. I do really want to do that tooltip thing because, like, here's what I'm imagining. I'll draw it on screen because I love doing this. I want there to be... So let's say I have a relic here that's a box, right? I want you to be able to hover over it, and you'll get a tooltip that goes box. And it tells you its rarity. And it tells you some basic text about it, like a one-line sort of deal. And then I want to have the compendium. And I want this text to either be here or, like, not, depending on if you have the compendium text unlocked. So it might have, like, a lock and a chain with no text underneath. Or it might tell you what's going on. But then the other thing I want it to do is I want it to come over here. And I want it to be like... Oh, you've got this enchant. And you've got this empty slot. Like, I want all of this stuff to be there, but at the moment I have it showing up in a static location, and as much as it makes it easier to read at the moment, I don't think it sells the idea of where you should be looking quite as good as it should. You know what I'm saying? Like right now, if I have that box right here on this corner of the screen, the tooltip is always going to show up over here. So I'm putting my mouse here, and then I have to move my eyes way over here. So I'm kind of thinking maybe there's something we can do to rectify that. The thing is, I don't want the tooltip to follow the mouse like it used to, because I think that was the biggest issue with how it looked. So that's going to be next. When I get that set up, hopefully that will make... It'll make the enchantment system a little bit easier to work around. But for now, why don't we add a bool here? And most relics are not going to have this, right? In the future, I'm going to take all of these and move them over to, well, I guess I could do that right now, actually. Am I using this like I should? Yes. How about this? Am I using this like I should? Yes. Okay, so I can actually move all of these into a array of flags immediately. So this is just going to use like bitwise logic to do this. I think that's all of the flags I use right now. Alright, so what we'll do is we're going to go var relic flags, which can be private. It's going to be an integer and it's going to equal 0. Okay. And because I have these getters and setters, it should be pretty easy. So called last, what we're going to do is just go in here, and we're going to go relic flags. And if we want to set it, we are going to do or equals is called last. And if we want to read it, we should just be able to do return relic flags and is called last. And that should do everything I need to for that. And we'll do the same thing for exclusive here. We're going to do relic flags or equals is exclusive. And to get it as a Boolean, we're going to do relic flags and is exclusive. Why don't I take these and move them up here? I'm gonna make a region. This should just make it a little bit easier to set these things up, right? Because all the flags are just going to be in a single spot. And we have called last exclusive aspect and inventory upgrade. So aspect is actually the first one. Cool. All right. Alright, that works out. And then we'll come down here and add our set is inventory upgrade. Relic flags or equals is inventory upgrade. Func is inventory upgrade. Return relic flags and is inventory upgrade. All right. I will say, working on this game has, like, rapidly made me a faster typer. I have never been that fast of a typer in my life, but I'm getting a little bit better. Alright. So this works out pretty good. And it does what we need for the relic bag, which is important. But what we can actually do to make it function let's see. So when we're putting a inventory, or when we're putting an item into the inventory, this is being called. And it's being called from this, which is being emitted from so here, but also here. So what I need to do is somewhere check whether or not it should actually be added as a draggable. And part of me is thinking that the best way to do it would be to put it into this function and essentially redirect the relic to where it needs to go instead of making this. But I'm not 100% yet. So our side panel here add existing relic. This is where all that stuff is being called from. But this is also its own scene, which that's where it becomes a little bit problematic, right? Does this have a relic inventory panel? It does actually have a class. So we're going to give it a reference here, and we're going to use that to connect it to a signal. I already have a way of setting the run restrictions, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. What I am going to do is bubble up these signals from the parent of from here, right? If relic dot is aspect, then set aspect dot emit relic, return. Relic dot is inventory upgrade, set inventory relic dot emit, and return. Now, down here, we're going to connect inventory item parent dot set aspect dot connect. We're going to connect it to a lambda function. I'm going to take in relic, and it's going to set aspect dot emit relic, and we're going to do the same thing for set inventory relic. And all that's going to do is take that signal and bubble it up through to here, which means that the side panel can also connect to that. If inventory panel okay. And all this is going to do is, for now, just set it to 1 and do relic dot texture. Okay. Now all I have to do is go through and set my aspect relics to is aspect. And that should do it. Now it shouldn't add it to the regular inventory, and it should instead override that texture on the side. Oh yeah, it did it. Oh no. That is not how that should look. Good lord. I might have to go through and make custom tooltips in a better way. It looks like somebody has made a plugin that does it, but I don't really want to have any plugins in this. Interesting. So there is a make custom tooltip function, I guess, that exists already for nodes. So like if I were to go in here and do make custom to, oh yeah, Virtual method to implement by the user returns a control node that should be used as a tooltip instead of the default one. For text is the return value of get tooltip. The returned node must be of type control or control derived. It can have child nodes of any type. It's freed when the tooltip disappears. So we always provide a new instance. Duplicate it and pass the duplicated instance when null or non-control node is returned. The default tooltip is used instead. Interesting. So I actually can just do that. I'm not going to worry about it right this second, but that's really good to know, because then I can use my existing tooltip system, which is a lot more full-featured. Like if you look at what I can do with it, it automatically creates these sub-tooltips based on what icons are visible. But if we make this a little more pretty, we can actually have it pop up instead of the regular tooltip, and I think that would be really cool, because Godot's built-in tooltip logic looks a lot nicer than what I was trying to do. So I think this will be nice. But I'm gonna work on that in the future. That's not really a today's stream type of thing, but that is pretty neat. That is pretty neat. I'm going to look up if my wife sent me a version of what the card layout was supposed to look like. Yeah, okay. Because I want to try to start working on the card layout a little bit more. So my big problem is that I have this card and this battle card, and they don't inherit from each other, which is really stupid, and I really need to make them inherit from each other. Because the script does, it's the scene that doesn't, and that kind of screws me up because I end up having to do a bunch of dumb stuff to make it function. Either way, I'm going to delete some of these for now, so I've just got one to worry about. So with the design she's got, it has a few different text boxes to worry about. I think the tough part is that I'm still not 100% sure about the numbering scheme. So in her write-up she's got here, you've got the card back with the texture in the middle of it, and then you've got a little circle with the number of how much damage it's expected to do, right? But the problem is there's not like, I don't know, there's not really a consistent way of doing that damage number, because a lot of things go into how much damage you're about to do. But I don't know, that has to get resolved anyway. So we have the card text down here. The name is going to go up top on a little banner. The type of card is going to go down the bottom. And an icon for the type is going to go below that. This might be a little bit difficult to do, actually. So, unfortunately, I'm not really sure how I'm gonna do this without having a background to work off of. So maybe I save this for later and just try to get the inventory itself done. Because one of the biggest problems that the inventory has right now is there's no way to bump a relic out, right? There's nothing that prevents relics from being added. So even if you don't have room, it's still going to kind of throw a relic out there, and you kind of just got to deal with it. So I think I need to finish that situation. Speaking of which, I need to make sure that enchantments have a removal, because I'm just realizing that when you delete a relic, it also needs to delete what the enchantment does. Granted, once you enchant a relic, you're never going to be able to unenchant it, which is important for multiple reasons. One, I think it balances the game a lot better to actually need to make that decision in an important, like, you can't just keep removing the enchantment and putting new ones on until you get what you want, is what I'm getting at, right? But for that reason, I was kind of like, oh, well, we don't need to worry about the removal then. That's fine. We're good to go. But if you were to sell the relic, any effects that it had that are directly on your character sheet, such as a stat change, that needs to be affected. So why don't we go ahead and get that going? Okay. Oh my god, I can't type. Remember how I just said I was getting better at typing? Apparently that is not the case. I don't need to worry about the error thing for now because that is already being caught above. Alter base stat I.get stat name negative I.get stat value. So that should be fine. That will do what we need it to do. The only thing I need to do is make sure that relics See, the trouble is that the on removal is overridden all the time. Why don't we just all right, I do use this quite a bit. So what we have to do is add this super to pretty much every relic that uses it. Global relic state, not that. These aspect relics, they actually don't technically need this. Okay. Save all of those. And now the enchantments should do what they need to do. I don't 100% remember what I was doing that led me to this. I do know that the aspect relics need to have no enchantment slots. That's another thing that has to happen. Okay. And that should be okay. Oh, right. I need to make it so that you can trade out a relic when you're trying to set up stuff. So, here's what I want to do. I have like a really... here's what I can do. Alright, so we are going to have a screen like this. Here's your mole. Here's your enemies. And I want the relics to kind of stand up along the side like this. And you can open the relic bag and have that display like this. And the reason that I want to have this separation is because I also want, when you get a relic that you need to put in your inventory and it doesn't fit. Oh, how did I do that? And it doesn't fit, it should bounce out and you should get a screen that kind of looks like this. It'll be like, and you'll have your inventory. And you'll have your extra relic. And then you'll have a spot to sell, right? And so what you can do is you can move around the relics to make space. You can sell relics in order to make space, or you can take your new relic and immediately throw it out. So those are kind of your options, right? But this whole thing needs to be made. There's nothing for this yet. So that's another thing that's on the menu now. So why don't we go through and start making something like that? The only thing is I'm not 100% sure about this relic menu being full screen exclusive. I do think that it's the right way to go. I'm just not 100% sure if it's like exactly what I want, right? Because I do like the idea of your stats being visible while you're playing. So maybe I could leave this as like a peek. Like you can peek into here real fast, but most of the time you're looking at it, it's like the whole screen. You know what I'm saying? I wonder how that would look. And I wonder how it would actually act, I think is really what I'm curious about. Let's launch the main scene directly. Oh no. Oh. I see what I did. That's pretty funny. Does it work though? I mean, it kind of does. It kind of does function. But right now, we are in actually UI hell. Everything looks so bad right now. So I'm not 100% sure what that's going to look like going forward. But I do know that this needs to be in front for sure. That's definitely step one. Let's add a color rect as the very first child here. And I'm just going to make this 8,000 by 8,000. And God, is that horrible. Alright, I want this to be like that. So, when this is visible, it should overlay everything else. With the exception of the relic bag. Which I think should be in front, because then you can still close the thing. The other thing I need to do is put this back to inventory by default. There. Okay, that's problematic. I can't click the bag to close it. I think I need to do this. Oh, well, that's problematic. Okay. So the click mask for this is unfortunately too large. We're going to hide this, and we are going to turn pressed off by default. Seems to work okay. The side panel, I think the ordering is messed up. Yeah, it's -1. This should be like -5. There we go. Yeah, now everything looks a little bit better. Okay. So, other than that, now I just need that secondary display that shows the relics while your inventory isn't open. Problem is, I'm just not really sure how I want it to look. Sorry for the sudden noise. There was a cat hair in the bottom of my mouse sensor, and it was causing the mouse to go crazy. So I think what I need is to design a secondary little scene here. So why don't we do a new scene? And it's going to be mounted to the bottom left. And it'll have a VBox container, again mounted bottom left. And I think all I'm gonna do is store a non-interactable copy of the... No, I can't do that because they're scaled. I'll have to just make a fake here. I could even do physics process. And that should make it so effectively nothing. Oh, see, that still has to be there. It's this that has to go away. Okay. Something I have to be careful of is I need to make sure that when you set the reference, it is able to delete this. just going to do this just to make it a little bit easier. And then I'm going to connect this when you set the reference. It's just going to go relic dot is being removed dot connect to on relic removal. And we're just going to call this side panel. No. Small relic inventory. What do you think the chances are? Put it in the wrong spot. Extremely high. Move to scenes, UI items. There we go. It's better. And we're going to use this as the way of making everything work out. Let's go to our always present UI. We've got this script here, which we are going to. I have to remove all this stuff sooner than later. None of this is being used. I don't believe anyway. Yeah. Okay. We're just going to save that for now. And let's get our script going on here. But first, why don't we create what an actual... Well, I mean... Let's see. I don't think it actually matters all that much if we're not making it so it can be dragged around. I think we can kind of be... We can kind of be safe about this. I just realized that, like, for half of this stream, the music hasn't been playing in the background. Sorry about that. Kind of killing the vibe. Okay. Okay, so all this is gonna do, I think, is see. Ta 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 ta. I realized something I might have just made an infinite loop. Please hold. Yeah, so what would have happened here? It's not an infinite loop, but it's just unneeded. I can just get rid of this because it's going to call this from this, right? So we're not going to worry about that. Anywho, we are going to take this and where is the parent? We're going to take this code and more or less put it into, actually, you know what, let's grab everything here so that we're able to use it selectively. We will move this up top. And get rid of these. Get rid of actually this would be kind of useful to have. But we're going to get rid of this. And rather than emitting a signal, it's just going to do nothing if that's the case. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go new relic dot is set is small inventory, and then do everything else, and that should kind of be it. The only other thing that needs to happen is instead of calling this function, all we're going to do is do shelf.addChild. And I think that should just work. Maybe. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and add this here. This is going to start like there. So toggled, it sets the visibility. And I guess we'll do the same thing for this. We're going to pick set visibility. So if this is true, you want to hide so that's just gonna give me the opposite effect of what this does. Should be fine. Okay. So now if we play this, make sure it's actually functioning here. Bottom left, hidden, shown, hidden, shown. Alright, that's working. Cool. Now we just need to actually have a relic in there. So why don't we play the game? Wrong one. Go in. And I need to get a relic to actually know what's going on, don't I? See if I can't randomly stumble upon one. I think the game might still crash at the end of battles because of the card update that I'm trying to get finished. Yeah, it's gonna crash. Yep. Dang. Well, that's not super convenient, but what I can do, I just realized, is I should just be able to go in here and go like this. And go... Alright. So those are too big, and they're not going into their slots. Just for the sake of it, let's try it one more time. Why are they climbing? Why would that ever be happening? It should be growing upward, but it's not. Why is that happening? There we go. to try some stuff here. So if I go ahead and jump in, and I give myself a bunch of apples. Okay. So right now that's too tall, but it does function. Alright. So it's functionally impossible to have this many relics, but that's kind of what I'm going for. I want the relics to be kind of displayed on the side here, and then you can actually go in and have them set up. Unfortunately, these are not going where they're supposed to. There's something going on that's kind of preventing that, and I don't 100% know what. That has to be dealt with. Either way, the base behavior that we wanted is there. A lot of what's going to get this game looking good is just going to be UI improvements, because there's just so many screens right now that have my programmer art that need to be altered. So that's where we're at for now. Let me look at my objectives again. So finish the relic bag and enchant system. The relic bag is functional. Every individual part of the relic bag, the inventory itself, the stat screen, other than this biggest hit part, which is waiting for a totally different set of features to be implemented before I can really get that going. And the deck, this does actually function right now. The only part that's not working is you can have item overflow where they don't end up in their slots, which sucks, but there's only so much I can do about that at the moment. I think it has to do with the inventory not being open when the items spawn in, so they don't end up going where they need to. But we'll figure that out. The actual, functionality, though, is there. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. As for our other objectives, the enchant system is functional. We tested it out, and you can get an enchant, and it will actually give you the stats associated with it. The shader will apply, the icon will be there, all that stuff. It's just waiting on the tooltip. The card base, we're waiting on the actual art background to be able to get everything looking nice. So at the moment, that's kind of on hold. So I think that I'm probably going to end it off here, because we've really achieved what I can achieve right now for this set of objectives. I will come back and make a list of things that we can work on to get a little bit closer. And I'm going to be working on the game pretty much non-stop throughout this week, so I'll be streaming more. Thank you guys very much for being here. If you enjoyed, then be sure to leave a like and subscribe to Put On Games so that you can see the latest updates on Mountains and Molehills, and head over to the Steam page and wishlist it if you haven't already. Thank you very much for being here, and I'm going to see you guys next time. Goodbye.